Hello, hello, and welcome to Restoring Dignity Live with C2C. I think some of you have asked, what is C2C? Because you might be new here. So C2C stands for community to community. And that's community, the number 2 community, which is the name of our organization. And our vision is development with dignity. And our mission is creating self-sufficient communities by working with the community. So I welcome you here if this is your first time. But if you're a friend of C2C, welcome back. Thank you for supporting by viewing this episode, which I'm excited to talk to you about. But first, for those of you who are new, check this video out about development with dignity.
Community to Community's vision is development with dignity. No shame, no pity. We amplify dignity and progress led by the people of Petit-Goâve. In a world too often defined by headlines, something incredible is happening. Communities here don't just survive, they are working hard to thrive. Community to Community is working with the people of Petit-Goâve to restore vital resources. A much-needed canal is built one hand at a time. Roads are carved into a mountain with simple tools, bringing safe passage to their children and elders. This is development with dignity. And while access to continuous healthcare is saving lives, trees planted today will nourish future generations. Each person is building, planting, and teaching. We are not the heroes. You are. The person willing to support this movement and say, yes, I want to be a restorer of dignity. Join Community to Community.
I'm going to say it every time I watch it, and that is that I really love that video. I'm grateful for the many hands that came together to make that happen. So as I said today, we're going to talk about Community to Communities Education Initiative, which is part of our project, which is the C2C Haiti Restoration and Transformation Project. Started in 2010 after the 2010 earthquake that struck Haiti. Since then, now 15 years later, we have grown as an organization with our partnerships with our 2 partner communities in Petit-Goâve, my father's hometown. And out of our engagement with them, because truly it's them who created the initiatives of the project, right? When we first met them, it was the education, it was the school, the road, the trees, and the water. And the school turned into, from just building a building to an educational system, and excuse me, and an educational initiative, which is not just only building the building, but the students inside, the teachers inside, the parents of those students, and the community at large, and the impact that it would make, right? So I want to share with you, just as a baseline, some statistics for you to know about the education system in Haiti right now. So the educational offer is mainly non-public, with more than 80% of schools belonging to the non-public sector in Haiti. And so what that means is that 80% of the schools are private. And by private, we mean a nonprofit is running them, a church is running them. It's a private school that is paid for by funds, sometimes outside the US, for expats who are in Haiti, working for a larger nonprofit like a USAID, and their children are there as well. So with 80% of the schools being privately either owned, operated, and run, that leaves roughly 20% for folks who cannot afford to pay the private fees, which is a lot of the people in the country of 11 million people, right? So our school is special in that way, in that the Saül Louis Community School in the mountains of Petit-Goâve is a community school. So even though we adhere to the standards of the Ministry of Education, that all of the children in our community have the right to attend the Saül Louis Community School, which originally started at kindergarten through sixth grade, but we've since added grades to it. So as I mentioned, in reference to some of the stats, to know about 80% of Haitian teachers have not received any pre-service training. That was one of our priorities when we partnered with our Mountainside partner community and the other community in Petit-Goâve proper, that we would be able to provide that. That was one of the things that they requested. So we've partnered with multiple organizations, many of them Haitian, who actually traveled to Haiti to meet with our teachers and give them in-service training, to also provide the tools, the knowledge, the equipment, the materials to help them to be better teachers, not just for their students, but for themselves, right? And so we look forward to continuing that. Because of the situation that is currently happening in the country with the instability and the violence, and the current lack of government, as of January 2025, 959 schools have been closed nationwide. Let that sink in. 959 schools have been closed nationwide due to the fact that many of the schools are either being left empty because communities have left because of violence, or the folks that are committing the violence have taken the schools over as their headquarters, or there are people now living in the schools because they've been displaced, right? So this is a major problem in Port-au-Prince right now with a population of over 1 million people, that the fight that is going on has displaced so many people's just everyday lives. And going to school is major, and having the education of your children either halted or impacted, and children are missing a whole year of school. Even here in the US, when we went through COVID, we remember how we knew those children were not necessarily going to be the same. Because they did not get the interaction, they did not get the socialization, they did not get the in-person contact that they would have received in those 5 years, right? So as a result, this is a very big concern for us. And so our school actually is going to be opening on October 7th this year for another school year for our students. And we're very grateful and thankful to God that that is going to happen. And one of the concerns is that the World Bank UNESCO data shows that in 2022, Haiti's public spending on education was 1.27% of its GDP. That just speaks for itself, and it speaks volumes of what the government thinks about education, which is why we are determined to make sure that the over 300 students in our school absolutely get the education that they need and they deserve. Overall, the median age in Haiti is 24 years old. So you have an entire population of people who are under the age of 25, who are able to make a really important contribution to their country. But the instability is often preventing them. So we have folks graduating as nurses, doctors, technicians, engineers, accountants, agronomists, and they don't necessarily have a job because of the instability, right? So oftentimes people will hear the narrative of Haiti being the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. It is not. It is actually the most exploited country in the Western Hemisphere. So it's important that you know the difference between those two things. And as it relates to the poverty, as it relates to the lack of employment, the instability definitely contributes to that because all of those people are happy to work. It is difficult to do that when the country is unstable, when there is paramilitary folks walking around, right? So I encourage people to research on their own too and watch multiple news outlets that are global so that you have a better understanding of what is going on in the country. Haitians are more than capable of running and governing themselves, more than capable, excuse me, of supporting their country's uh, food needs with the food supply. The food insecurity is like a domino effect to everything else that is going on. And that is the problem. When one domino falls, the rest of them fall, which impacts everyone and everything. We are in a unique position where we are in the countryside to impact these things, right? And education is one of the main ones. With the population of Petit-Goâve is 117,504 people, right? And that can fluctuate, but that is a significant amount of people that can most definitely make a difference, right? So today, as I said, I want to talk about education. I want to talk about where we were, where we are going, and where we are, right? So in the last segment, I shared with you how this whole thing started. After the earthquake in 2010, I resigned from my position at American Express and I went to Petit-Goâve just out of what I felt was country and duty and honor and my dad to see how I could help. And in that time, I was introduced to two communities that we decided that we could work with. And by we, I mean me and the Lord. There was nobody else. So that was like a faith walk if I ever heard one. And truthfully, on the plane ride home, I was like, am I crazy? Did I bite off more than I could chew? Because, but I was determined and I was thankful that I had saved a lot in my savings. I was thankful for my 401k that allowed me to start the organization. And so here we are now, 15 years later, still here. And I'm proud of that because it was no small feat. So when we met this community, they showed us what the conditions for the students were after the earthquake, where school was being held under the sky, which I shared with you the last time on the last episode. And some of those children are now grown. We met them when we started working with them, but the earthquake had really destroyed a lot of things. And the four young men that started the APHD Community Association committed to making life better on this mountainside where they grew up. So those that were teachers got more teachers, those that were engineers got more engineers, and architects and nurses. And they went back up the mountain and started to really do community development. And as a result, when we met them, they were already in the process of raising funds to build a temporary school shelter. So we went from there to the temporary school shelter. But the challenge there is that this was an open air structure that every 2 or 3 years, the hurricanes would come and blow everything away across the mountain. So we would raise the money and then the hurricane would literally destroy what we had built. And then one year, around 2018, 2019, we had kind of a come to Jesus conversation about, do we keep doing this or do we do something different? And what the parents agreed to was that even though it was going to be planting season and they would have been paid for that work, that they chose for those funds to go into saving funds to build a permanent school. But during that time, it was very challenging for us because the school, when we were building it, if you can see actually in this picture, I'm going to go back to the one that you just saw because I just realized it's there. So if you look past that, the other building that are on the upper right hand, upper left hand, the upper right hand is the hub where we would sleep when we're on the mountain. And that little outdoor space was where we had to have 300 children going going to school. So I'm going to show you the other page that other photo we were looking at. So that is the building. And by that, I mean a hub, right? So this hub is on the outside is literally where we held our meetings. On the inside, front room was like the living room and the dining room for us as a team. And then the back was where we slept. So when the temporary shelter was destroyed, they brought the kindergartners over here and still managed to use the temporary shelter. But this teacher here, I want to introduce him and his wife. Actually, Jean-Claude and his wife are responsible for the kindergartners. And so that day they were all in school together. So when I tell you these folks here on this mountain adapt, adjust, and evolve, and that the show must go on, the show be going on. Okay? So that these kids themselves were not even fully aware of what had happened. They just knew they were going to go back to school. So I just want to applaud Jean-Claude and his wife because of their passion and their dedication to these little people and their young minds, and to make sure that they get the same opportunities that they had, and that is to get an education. I also want to introduce you to Professor Smith, who is another teacher that is on the mountain, who, how do I explain? He's a very quiet man, but he is very determined. This is the temporary school shelter after the hurricane had destroyed it. So as you can see there is the wooden planks. There is the galvanized steel that was on the roof that they use to protect the kids from the elements. And then the chalkboard. Yes, chalkboard. I know many folks have not seen a chalkboard and some chalk in a long time, but this is where we were before we could even think about getting access to internet or having laptops. So Professor Smith needs to be recognized as well for his dedication, that he will teach anywhere, anyhow, in any way he can. And truthfully, I would say that all of the teachers at the Saül Louis Community School have that same level of dedication. And they're a very tight knit group of people. Often when we have the in-service days, that they're all together. Next is Professor Thomas, and he's actually also underneath what was the temporary school shelter. And again, you can see here, and I think you'll agree with me, how dangerous this picture actually looks, in the sense that there's like 3 poles holding all of that together. But you can also see the young ladies in the front row and how focused that they are in doing their work. And Professor Thomas, same, dedicated and focused. He actually also went to law school in the time that we were there, and we came back and he let us know that he had graduated from law school as well. The determination of this association to present examples to these youth is commendable. It really, really is. And so for me, it is important to tell you that the Education Initiative is the base for all of the work that C2C is doing. I can tell you that I remember when we came back in 2010 and we shared with people that the focus was the water, the school, the road, and the trees. And someone said, well, why aren't you focused on the water? Like everybody, no, they were asking us why we were focused on the school. I take that back, because we chose to get the water distribution system up. And they were like, but kids need school, they need education, which I fully agreed with that. But I had to bring them to understand the direness of the situation. And my response to that person who said, you should build the school first was, dead children don't go to school. Children that do not get water will die of thirst. So the school will be empty. And I had to say that for them to really understand why this was the priority, why we had to get the water up and running. And I will do a different segment on that. But that the education and the water work hand in hand together. So it is important that folks understand that this is not a one piece at a time. We are people-centered. So everything that is built in the community is around the person, the school, the road, the trees, the health and wellness center. All of those things come together for that. And again, I love seeing these videos of the kids. This is the elementary school, and that is Professor Lovely with her students. And no pun intended here, but Professor Lovely does really love her students. She is so caring and loving, and she makes it a point to engage them in the work that they are doing. And it is always our honor to provide in-service support for them as teachers under the conditions that they are teaching. And as I mentioned before, we also use the curriculum of the Ministry of Education so that everybody is on the same page. One other thing I wanted to share was that along with the school that takes place between 7 a.m. and 3 p.m., there's also a trade school. And the trade school itself offers a whole other curriculum. And what we did was we worked with the youth and asking them what were they passionate about. And what they said to us was, we gave them a choice. It was electrician, ceramics, culinary, music, and I feel like there was one more, I apologize, I forgot, but they chose music. And so the gentleman in the orange or salmon colored shirt there is Professor Buisson, who is called the maestro. So there's a keyboard behind there you see, and then you see some trumpets. So we raise funds for them to get these instruments. And one of the things that Responsable Eugène says is that we want a community where everything that the community members need is in the community. So as they also learn culinary arts, electrician, plumbing, I think plumbing was the one I forgot, that if you're in the community and you need a plumber, you have access to a plumber. If you need to have, you're having a wedding, you have a group that can come and play instruments. So this is now what's happening in this building. So they literally move the different, what are they called, benches away so that the trade school can take place after the regular school from the morning to the early afternoon. So to see, and some of these are the parents that come in and see their children play and what they're learning as well. And often some of them are either are getting jobs to play their instruments, or they play in the choir, or they play in their church choir, etc. So it is just, it warms my heart to see them get this. And I also want to say that we didn't ship any of these instruments. They were purchased on the ground. So we raised the funds for them and we sent it down, and the funds went, and the association purchased them in country. So I'm thinking that after this, they're going to choose another thing, whether that's culinary arts or plumbing or ceramics. All of these things will provide a trade, which if you know how to do any of these things, I'm sure you'll agree with me that you'll always have a job if you're an electrician or a plumber, musician, ceramics, so that you're able to put different things together from a gardening standpoint and buildings, right? So again, when this blue top went on this building, this blue roof, it wasn't a top, I'm sorry, clearly I'm not in construction. When this blue roof went on top of the building, this is when my heart was like, yay. So everything I've just shown you was happening in this building. And the goal now is to build a retaining wall behind it, because the person who's shooting this is on top of the hill. And then to the right of it is the dormitories of the teachers who now can spend the night there. And that is also where the materials and supplies are kept. But last but not least, this building is not just a school. This building is a school during the day. It is a trade school in the afternoon. It is a church on Sundays. It is a place for community meetings. It is a place where folks gather. I know her. She's one of the best singers in the community. That's actually Jean-Claude, who I just introduced you to. That was his mom. It is also a gathering place when there is hurricanes or torrential downpours. So it is a shelter also. So this building is one of a kind on this mountain. And these folks, when they are able to get together and to be a community, and the centralized location, the fact that this car was able to drive down this road and to come to be at this place, I'm telling you, I haven't been home in a minute. So I'm amazed, because you could only walk down. So to see the joy of the Lord in this place, to see people being able to come together and assemble together and praise God and be in community, man, that makes me feel some kind of good. I'm not going to lie. Because sometimes you don't get to see these pictures about Haiti. You don't get to see this kind of video of people enjoying their lives and enjoying each other and being in community and assembling together in worship. And a lot of the folks you see playing the instruments are the people you just saw in the trade school, right? So I thank all the people who have supported C2C over the last 15 years. And I especially thank the folks who just found us. I want you to know that this is fertile ground. If you choose to plant some seeds here, they're going to grow. And they're going to grow into, they're going to grow from little children into grown adults who are educated, who have chosen to serve their community, who belong to a community that love them, that support them. And I'm proud to say that even the school started at 0 to 6th grade, that we have since improved the school so that now it goes to 9th grade. So we're going to continue to make it happen. When we raise funds for the teacher stipends, we raise funds for the materials, we raise funds for the retaining wall, we raise funds for the canteen or cafeteria that they are now building. This is an investment that you're making that's going to have generational impact. So I hope that you will join us. I make the invitation to come be a part of something much greater than yourself. When you become either a C2C neighbor, monthly donor, a C2C champion, and that's you choose to raise the funds in your network, right? Or if this is your first time seeing us and you're like, man, I want to be a part of this, I'm gonna donate today. Awesome. Awesome. We encourage you also to follow us online and to sign up for our in progress report so that you can see where your donations, where your money, where your hard-earned money that you've chosen to donate to us is going. Again, C2C is fertile ground. So thank you for joining me today. I hope that you've learned something about C2C in the part 1 and part 2 of our education initiative, but more so that you have seen the humans, the people behind the education initiative, which is this community of parents and teachers and students who love learning. So thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you again on the next Restoring Dignity with C2C. Thank you.